All right, we're back. Just in the meantime, while I'm prepping this meat, I want to make sure that I do actually do a shout out to some of the informational sites where I learned a little bit about the ratios. You know, there's, like I said, there was 100 of them, but without doing some type of thanks or giving them some form of credit, I would be very remiss. It's definitely not the way to go. So southernliving.com, southernliving.com has some great barbecue ratio information, as well as a bunch of recipes. Barbecue.about.com, which seems like it's about barbecue.com, but it's not. It's barbecue.about.com. Great ratio stuff, great recipes. MrBarbecue.com, MrBarbecue.com, MRBBQ.com. Another great site, a lot of useful information. And of course, thefoodnetwork.com. These are all great sites. You have the ability to Google. You have the ability to find all this information yourself. It's useful. It's out there, and everybody has a different bent and a different way of doing it. So I would follow that. Now, I've got some meat up here. Have to pardon me 1 second while I grab some stuff. Alrighty, we're going to start here with, let's see what we got. Oh, my wife is, while you were out, I was bringing this meat upstairs, and it is very thawed, and had decided that it was time to make a run for it. Out of the bag, and I'm patting it down now. Of course, this is a good thing to do. You know, you get a lot of juices in there. There's all types of things online about brining, especially with dry cuts of meat. Injecting, I do have an injector. I will do some meat with an injection. Probably the chicken will have an injection, and I would use something like basic chicken stock with a couple of spices and things that I like in there. Just because I'm worried smoking it, I don't know, I may not do it this time, being it's the first time. I should probably just go with whatever I'm willing to try. Let's get our cup here. We're gonna just, now this is the pork rub, so we wanted to add sugar. Let's grab a, close that, grab a little bowl up here, and I wanted to add a little sugar to this, so I'm gonna throw a cup or so in here. And then I'm just going to get a little more brown sugar in there, because I think it should be a little sweeter than the pork. Although, you know, if we wind up, even though it's a roast, depending on if it gets, you know, comes to tender enough to be pulled pork, that is not as important, because I'm probably going to be throwing some of my Carolina style apple vinegar and barbecue sauce. Again, that's a recipe I'm going to do next time on here, just so that I can see it, so that I don't forget it. It involves a lot of ketchup. I will sometimes use some other sauces in there that have already got flavors if I like them. I like Sweet Baby Ray's. It's a very good sauce. I'll use that at a 1-to-1 ratio with ketchup, just to add a little background flavor, but I'm going to be dressing it up myself with liquid smoke. Again, I know we've got smoke in there already, but I believe that belongs in the sauce. So I usually mix it with some brown sugar, liquid smoke, garlic powder, onion powder. A lot of the same things that are in the rub, to tell you the truth. And realistically, it's probably a time-saving thing to just throw this right in there, except for the salt. It'd have to be a lot less salt in my barbecue sauce. All right, so we put some more sugar in there. We're going to take this and rather high-handedly sprinkle it on. Now, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done that for you first. I think I'm going to take a little knife here, and I think I'm going to make a couple little cuts in this here fat. So now I'm just diagonally slicing a lot of fat, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not necessarily cutting all the way through, just putting a bunch of little diagonal cuts in it. That'll keep it from shrinking up on me, I hope, and curling into a ball. And at the same time, give it some place to hold on. Fat can, even though you're cooking slow, the fat can cause it to curl up in a ball. Alright, so let's get back to where we were. Now that that's done, trying to avoid cross-contamination as much as possible, but I pretty much know it ain't gonna happen. So, alright, so that's the rub. There's the rub. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. That's when I'll creep on this here smoky barbecue. So, making sure we get both ends covered, making sure this is on there good. Now, this is going to be my first time doing this overnight. I was a little worried about that, but I'll tell you, I've gotten some darn good advice off some of those websites, like I said, Mr. Barbecue, SouthernLiving.com, the Food Network, Barbecue Brethren's a real good one. And they're telling me, they did not steer me wrong. The pamphlet I got with my smoker told me a half hour per pound for brisket. I can tell you at this point that I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. Having done it since then, that wasn't even close. Okay, big Ziploc bag here. Just going to throw this in. Zip it up. Probably too big of a Ziploc bag, but you use what you got. Alright, now, rinse my hands off real quick, although I don't know why. But I am going to. Rinsing my hands off a tiny bit. On to the next meat. What I want to do, and that's why I was rinsing my hands off. See that? Silly rabbit. Alright, so now we're going to change this ratio a bit. None of this got in there, so that can go back. I'm going to leave that over there. And that ratio, that's just going to adjust, things are going to move around a little bit, whatever. Don't worry about it. Everybody back into the pool, because I'll be dumping what's left of this back in it. So now, with this one, I'm going to up this salt, which again seems counterintuitive. Just like to me, cooking that brisket to a temperature of 200 degrees seemed counterintuitive. I mean, it was beef. Again, this is just a message back to the earlier video. The collagen in between the strands, it's striated muscle, and the collagen in between the strands doesn't really start to break down until 200 degrees. So it's not fat, it's actually relatively lean. It's a pectoral muscle for a cow. And even though there's fat on the back, it's a very lean meat, and you actually have to break down that collagen in between the strands for it to become mouth-wateringly good. But, again, counterintuitive. I'm trusting the guys that I've learned from on the net that have steered me right so far. And I'm not going one-to-one here, like they do. Oh, the wife's coming in. Probably mad at me or something. Alright, say Brenda, I'm filming, just so you know. So I don't forget this. Alright, so now that's another quarter cup of salt that I put in there. Again, kosher salt would have been the way to go, given my druthers, but my druthers are, well, they'd rather not hang around, I guess. I don't know. So now we've got a lot more salt here. I want to taste this. That tastes very salty to me, but I'm told that's the way to go. For the beef, I want to change it up a little bit. I don't want everything tasting the same. I'm getting a little more pepper in there. Not measuring this stuff now. The measuring was just for the basic rub. This is signature stuff, other than the pepper, that adds flavor. I like a little bit of garlic, a little bit more garlic and onion than sweet on my beef. On the next meat we're doing is beef. Brenda, as I was bringing a tiny bit more chili powder too, bringing in Mexican. And actually that's not what I was reaching for, but pretend I was. While I was running upstairs, Brenda, with the meat, the bags were leaking all over the place, so I tried juggling them and holding them, but for whatever reason in those bags, they slid out of the plastic, and they might be crap on the carpet that we're gonna have to clean. I tried my best, but I'm pretty sure it was dripping. All right, so now we've got a little bit more flavor in there, a lot more salt. And we're gonna do the beef. Now, as I told you, that was a center cut pork roast. This is a choice boneless chuck roast. Okay, so this is a chuck roast. Now, once again, we're going to pat it dry. Hold on over there. I'll come show you. Pat it dry. Taking. And you know, I didn't use the mustard on those roasts. I would if they were ribs or brisket. I think I'm going to use a little mustard on the beef. Again, I'm trying to get different flavors here. Even though they're all smoking together, they're going to come out different. Well, this is a chuck roast. Got a big old honking piece of fat there through the middle. I'm not going to mess with that. What I am going to do is pat this down with, again, get me some mustard. Don't open the refrigerator with my hands like that. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, just because that's what drives me nuts. Trying to avoid cross-contamination there. All right, I'll still use this. Get some good old yellow mustard. French's yellow mustard, your friend for your whole life. First on hot dogs, last on beef. But whatever. All right, so this is just a good way. This is going to get a little messy up in here, which is far more fun than you'd think. This is just going to hold on to this beef a little bit. I patted it down, got rid of the juices and all that other stuff, but this is just going to add another flavor. Again, it's going to change it a tiny bit. It's going to be a little more salty, even though it's got a lot of the same spices as the pork. Now we're back to really messy again, and I got to rinse out my hands. All right. Just have to rinse out my hands so I can grab a scoop. We'll grab another scoop. And again, this isn't for measuring. This is just so my hands aren't getting in there and cross-contaminating that. Put all this all up in its grill. All around the edges. That's right. You ain't nothing but a beef roast. Crap, you know what I'm saying? You ain't nothing but a beef roast. Alright, need a little more of that. Now with the mustard on here, you can see that this is rapidly being absorbed by the meat. More so than with the pork, where it stayed rubbed. Once it was rubbed, it stayed rubbed. Like the Sopranos rubbed it. It was not gonna mess around. Hey Joe, let's rub that pork. You wanna get rubbed? Don't mess with the Sopranos. Alright. So we've got all this. I'm just gonna stick it in these little cracks and crevices. Notice there was no trimming of fat or slicing the fat like I did on the other one. And this, once again, it's already getting up in here and already going to break it down. Now, the salt is immediately drawing out the moisture too on beef, which again was why I was a little anti this, at least as far as overnight is concerned. But hey, what the hell do I know? Once again, rinsing my hands off, getting rid of some of the gunk. A lot of hand washing going on here. Another bag. This is the bag for beef. These will be smoked on the same rack, but I want them to. I don't want them to get to know each other yet. You know what I'm saying? Should they're from different sides of the tracks, you know. Different sides of the track. Alrighty. So. Here we go, pretty basic. We've got your basic rub, which was made in the earlier video. Additional sugar on pork. Additional quarter cup or so of sugar added to the basic rub. Basic rub on beef. About a quarter cup additional salt, no sugar. Just the basic rub, additional quarter cup of salt. Smeared it in mustard. It's going to give me the flavor I want. We'll actually, I hope it is. We'll let you know. This is my first time doing this stuff too. Take care. Good barbecuing.